Welcome to Sometimes There's Side Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. Listen as we talk about our lives with dogs, training, behavior, share some laughs, and a whole lot of banter. I'm Heather.
And I'm Kristi.
What are we talking about this week, Kristi?
We're going to talk about different perspectives for the same behavior, the same event.
Event. I like it.
Yeah.
Tell
And
us.
how, well, this stems from if Lucky Heather gets these voice text messages from
I
me.
love it. I love a voice note.
So Jackson and I were in agility and he was having a rough night. The skill was a little hard for him, and then he found a lot of treats on the ground. Just so everybody knows, the class we're in, beginner class goes before us on the field, and then we go. So we have found that there are a lot of drop treats from the beginner class when we come, and Jackson has made that correlation very
Yeah.
quickly.
Even if I'm
And
in
love
an
that.
advanced cat class, I drop treats because
Oh,
I'm
sure.
terrible. So,
Yeah.
know.
Yep. Yeah. And in this situation, I sent Heather a message because Jackson got distracted with the new skill. And then he went over and, in my opinion, was looking for treats. The instructor seemed much more offended by this situation than I was. And there's a couple reasons for that, I think. We'll get into that. I described the situation and why I thought the behaviors were happening. The instructor had a different idea of why the behavior was happening. And Heather sends back a voice note that says, "You're both wrong." Which made us think,
Three people, three different
look at the
perspectives.
same situation and had three completely separate.
I feel like what I replied to you was, look, here's the thing. Let's just say you're both wrong.
She said,
Because
but what she actually said was, "Let's just say you're both wrong." And then she paused and said, "You're both wrong."
But my point was that none of us really know.
That's
None of
true.
us really know what Jackson was thinking. And
Mhm.
so it is important to keep an open mind and not make assumptions
Yes.
when we are looking at a dog's behavior and what is motivating it. Oh my gosh, why do we keep talking about drive? But it's important to really think. I don't even want to say think it through because you could overthink it.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we get real messy and
Mhm.
we just want to know it and figure it out and like piece it all together. And sometimes we can, but
Yeah.
sometimes they're just being a fucking dog.
Yeah. And I think it's so easy as humans to create a story.
Yes.
Whether that story is true or not,
Mm.
maybe it is.
I
And
mean,
honestly, we create these stories a lot of times from context
mm-hmm,
and our knowledge of our dog and our
mm-hmm,
experiences, our knowledge of dog behavior, all of the
mm-hmm.
things. We take all that in and create this story. And I even created a story about the instructor
You
in my mind.
did, which was
And
very
so,
amusing. I tried to
yeah.
get I tried to get Kristi to play the voice notes for you guys so that you could
Mm-mm,
hear like the
mm-mm.
rawness of it all.
I was very sassy.
And then I just came around and said, you're both wrong.
Yeah, yeah, which I was fine taking that from Heather.
But like, I, I just, I do agree with you. We as humans, we want there to be this aha moment. We want there to be this understanding. We want there to be this critical thinking that happens and it all comes together and we just know exactly what to do next. But
Mhm.
it's not that simple because we are literally living, training another species that doesn't
Mhm.
speak our language.
Yeah,
And we as humans are messy.
we
Like
are.
the at there, okay. The amount of excellent. And I mean, I'm talking like top echelon dog trainers out there. That's a small pool,
Yeah.
right? It really is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good trainers. There's a lot of people who try hard. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people who are doing everybody's doing their best. Everybody's doing their
Absolutely.
best. There's a lot of pet people doing like there's all levels.
And
But
there's a lot of people doing good enough.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And not as a dig, like
No,
really you're
no, no.
doing
This
good
is
enough.
like literally not a dig in any way. But my point is, even those top level, top of their game, know every trick in the book, sometimes still don't fucking know.
Yeah. And because you grow as you gain experience. And guess what?
Yeah.
Every year you're on this earth, you're gaining experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you might have experience. I have experiences with Tiago that will never apply to Trin or apply in a completely different way. And
Yeah.
then I have to essentially relearn it because it's a completely different dog and a different relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in this situation, what was happening was, I was asking Jackson to do these multiple jumps and then do a this kind of weird backside jump. So it wasn't in his line of vision. And he
Yeah.
kept getting confused there. And clearly I know I'm making mistakes as a trainer because
You're
I'm
learning.
also learning with him, which is
Yes.
probably the worst combination. New dog to the sport, new owner to the sport. My hands are everywhere. That's
Yeah.
just who I am. And then having the treats on the ground. And so so my interpretation was he's leaving the game because it's not clear what he needs to do. He doesn't understand. And there's this great reward of going and getting treats
And
on the
sniff.
ground where
And
he
when
found.
something's hard, and so he's
Yeah.
going to go sniff because that
Yeah.
is a go-to behavior for him that is
Right.
also very calming.
Which I did not pair in my own brain, but Heather
Mhm.
also brought that up. And then when he didn't re-engage with me, I wasn't offended by that at all
Yeah.
because I knew it was a hard skill.
You're
And
very good about
I,
that. You're very good about realizing like there's no offense here.
yeah, yeah, he's not trying to be a jerk. He just
No.
doesn't get it. And he got probably frustrated in his own way and detached then. That's okay. Like I just need to figure out how to make that more fun
Yeah.
and clearer and things I can work on. I think this is the story I made up in my mind about the trainer. So the trainer says, no, he's basically flipping you off. He is doing a big F you, all these things. I didn't interpret it that way.
Hmm.
I still don't. I think where she felt that way was when she thought she would step in and just do it, which is usually what happens. She steps in, shows me how to do it. Jackson is pristine with her every time, all the time. And she's like, "You're the problem." I'm like, "I know." But this time she did it and he disengaged with her.
Mm.
And I think at that point she felt offended.
It was a hard ask.
It was a hard ask, and she was offended that he disengaged with her when
Hmm.
she had this expectation that it would just go flawlessly,
Hmm.
and it didn't, and that's when she was like, "Well, your dog just isn't participating tonight, and so put him away."
He hurt her feelings.
He did, I think. I think her pride was a little hurt. So that and I know that's a story I've made up in my mind about it. That's how I'm interpreting the situation. But we sat, watched everybody else do it, took some notes on what I could improve on, and Jackson got a bunch of treats over by his kennel and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can laugh and joke how I listen to your voice note, listen to your perspective, listen to her perspective, and then I come back in and I'm like, yo, like you're both wrong. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. One, I wasn't there.
Mhm.
Two, I'm getting your interpretation
Absolutely, yeah.
of what happened, and then your interpretation of her interpretation.
Uh-huh.
And then I get to sit and think about it and wasn't even there and get to like assess what I thought. Like,
Yeah,
but my real perspective was basically, like, hey, this isn't normal behavior for him.
yeah.
We don't need to freak out about this. It has not become a pattern. What did I say? One time a pattern does not make.
Yes, yes.
Like, It's not something that we need to turn into Catastrophe Island.
Yeah.
Move on, let it go, which I feel like you had.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's so funny to me because you don't trust your instincts. So you are like, oh, well, she's the trainer instructor, which I get that.
Mhm.
You don't know the sport the same way she does.
Right.
But I challenge you to say, you know your dog.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
the funny thing was, this voice message was not actually even about that
no,
interpretation because I felt very confident about
yeah,
my interpretation.
yeah, totally.
Um, it was about recalling the dog versus going and getting them,
Yeah,
which was a whole different situation. But you're right. Sometimes I'm like, and sometimes I trust my instinct, but I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be so set in my ways. Maybe I
yeah,
should get another pair of ears on this.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
but I did have to set you up with my view of the situation. So you got a very targeted view of what was happening.
But like it does make me sit back though and be like, okay, this thing happened.
Mhm.
There's three different perspectives of how we interpret it. We're
Yeah,
probably all wrong.
could be.
And Jackson's over here like, guys, I was just dogging. It was hard.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like it. I just went and dogged and whatever. I'll be
yeah.
fine. I'll be fine next week. There's the story. We have to make like this big, movie rom-com about it of some sort,
Yeah,
turn it into like this massive thing.
I know the whole thing at agility class, I mean, maybe like 5 minutes maybe,
Yeah.
and that's with multiple attempts on my part, the instructor stepping in, him removing himself from the game, getting him back, all of it, maybe 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I think we left 5 minutes worth of
Of
voice
voice
messages
notes
back.
about it back and forth. And now we're talking about it again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so why do we want to talk about it?
I think one reason we wanted to talk about it was it's okay to know that there are different perspectives of the same happening. So what you're seeing, you may not be seeing a full picture, or you may be seeing a different picture than somebody else. And I think it's just good to bring in all the information so we have a whole picture, but also realizing and humbling ourselves and knowing that we may all be wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
so what really matters is, okay, how do we move to the next level? And it does require understanding the motivation behind a behavior or what caused the behavior, but sometimes it's just
An
being able to move
anomaly.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think it's also how we talk about you don't know what you know and building, and we all started
Mhm,
somewhere. I think
mhm,
that if you have a situation that happens and someone else has a different perspective, it's great to listen to that and hear it and then just sort of pack both away, or sometimes all
mhm,
three, and pack them away for the future because it could shape how you see something again.
mhm, mhm,
And it could show you a pattern that you hadn't considered, or
right?
some of those bits of the different perspectives could come together and you could get like a real sense of understanding with your dog
Mhm.
because you took it all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's value in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I was thinking about a conversation I had several weeks ago with someone about agility and a training method in agility, and I was saying that I don't really think it's that important, and she gave me a different perspective. She said, "Well, actually, here's some things to consider." And this is a trainer that I respect. I've worked with her in the past on very limited, but I respect her from what I
Hmm.
know of her. But as she was talking, I immediately was like, "Meh, I don't care. I'm not doing it." And then it took several weeks. I was like, that was really close-minded of me, but I had already made this determination that it
Yes.
wasn't important to me, and so no matter what she said, I was like, "Man, I don't care. I thought you would agree with me, but you're not, so I'm gonna throw out your
You're totally
opinion."
throwing out your perspective, like, "Bye." Kristi, you just went completely against our entire fucking episode.
But what I will say is that's why it's important to have these conversations. So when
Yeah?
you do that, you can realize it, even if it takes a couple weeks to realize it. You can realize it and say, okay, was there value in that? And why am I so opposed to that
Mm.
opinion?
Okay, so here's the thing, though. We're not gonna say the subject that we're talking about because it's gonna call somebody out, but
Hmm.
you recognized you were opposed to
Mhm,
doing it,
mhm.
and then you came to me and you were like, "Hey,
Because Heather will back me up.
yeah, but what did I do?"
You went to an expert.
I went to an expert
Yeah.
and I said, "Do you do this training method in agility?" And then I got her perspective because she is outside of this region.
Mhm.
She is in a completely different breed. She has taken dogs to championships over and over and over again,
Yeah.
different breeds. She is very well versed and is also a trainer.
Yeah.
So I went to her and I was like, "Okay, you're my expert here. Are you doing this?" And she was like, "This is what I'm doing and this is why." And I was like, "Oh, good, you agree with us."
But being able to
Pick your
not be
brain.
so no, yeah, pick another brain, but also listening to someone with a different perspective.
Hmm.
I was able to once I realized, like, I had to really shut that down and rethink of that conversation. I was like, "Actually, she had some good points.
Hmm.
I do understand what she's saying now." And, at least there's a possibility of being open to it. I don't think trying that, but
Well, you're tucking it
I'm not
away.
as opposed. Yeah.
You're tucking it away.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe it's not right for Jackson, but maybe the next dog it
Ooh,
is right for.
good
Or
point.
maybe as I get more advanced, I'm like, "Ooh, I probably should have listened to them. That was
Or
the right way to go."
you also never know that you're not talking to somebody who's struggling with a certain skill and while something didn't apply to you with your dog, it doesn't mean it won't apply to somebody else and you can offer them perspectives that
Absolutely.
you've heard from the past. I feel like we always say dogs, they're complex behavior, blah blah blah. It is.
It
And
is.
part of being good at this thing called being in a relationship with a dog is
Mhm.
to like take it all in,
Yeah,
and to, even if you're going to throw it away in the moment, to just sort of tuck it back in the recesses of your cobwebs of
yeah,
your mind and hope that when it's relevant, you can pull it back out again.
yeah.
But
If
it
it is
does
not
make you a better trainer.
Yeah, if it is not harmful for your dog, tuck
Yeah.
it away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it. And then send a voice note to your friend about how it's totally wrong, and then you can laugh about it, and it's great.
yeah. And then you listen back and you're like, "Wow, I was sassy that night." Woo-hoo.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
My
take it
red
all
hair's
in.
coming out.
Yep. Just take it all in and pack it away. You never know when you're going to need it again, or somebody else
Yeah,
does.
yeah. Yeah, because it's easy to say, "Hey, I haven't tried this," but, the past, other trainers have told me this.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's an option for you.
Yeah.
That's not very hard to pack those things away and offer them when somebody's struggling. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and share us wherever you get your podcasts. Also, come on over to Instagram and engage with us at Sometimes There's Side Eye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.